It's time for the District 4 Report, presented to you by Professor Diggs himself, only on PowellPointBearcats.com. Class begins now.
Live, almost live, from the production room of Pilot Point Bearcat headquarters. It is the District 4 3A report. And ladies and gentlemen, I am here to report that the District 4 3A report houses the regional final. That is right. It is all 4-3A all the time this week, as we have Brock and Whitesboro taking on each other in the regional final, just as the District 4 3A report would have it. Now, how they got there was a little bit surprising in many ways, because Brock and Whitesboro pretty much put a whooping on Shallow Water and Jim Ned. I took Jim Ned to beat Brock, and Brock proved me wrong in a pretty emphatic way. They pretty much dominated them. And let's go through some of those games that happened last week. I picked Jim Ned to win that game by 7, just a little bit off, as Brock won that game by 45, and it really wasn't even that close. Just perfect game by Brock and a perfect game plan. Basically, what Brock did defensively was they loaded the box. They said, okay, Yardley, take Yardley if you want to beat us. Let's see what you got. And let's see if you can beat us without Xavier Wishart as your primary focus. We're going to shut him down. Extend the game, do what you want to do. Let's see if you can do it. And they could not do it whatsoever. They knew where Jim Ned was running. They pretty much locked him down. And yeah, Xavier Wishart got 20 carries for 159 yards and 3 touchdowns, but those were very much second half, late game garbage yards. Just pure dominance. Brock ran 63 plays for 655 yards. And again, it's one of those things where if you have your Brock players on your fantasy football team, you're probably pretty happy. Cutter Wilson, 295 yards, 5 touchdowns. You know, you would think when you're talking big 3A football, Xavier Wishart was the name everybody was talking about, but anybody who left that game came away talking about Cutter Wilson. Just a fantastic day. Tyler Moody, I mean, what can you say about this quarterback? 13 for 15, 229 yards and 4 touchdowns. Brock brought out the big play offense early and often, hitting big play after big play, averaging 10 yards a play. You talk about Eli Potts, caught 8 for 140 and 3 touchdowns. Nathan Jones wasn't even needed, but such a decoy, giving Eli Potts the chance to have some one-on-one battles and just win those and extend the field. Nathan Jones, 2 for 42 and a touchdown. Just absolute dominance. I mean, you cannot give enough platitudes for what Brock did against Jim Ned. And they say to be the man, you've got to beat the man. Well, we know Ric Flair was a 16-time world champion in WCW/NWA and the WWE, at the time WWF, and that means he lost the belt 16 times, and today Brock is the man. Now moving over to the other regional final, Shallow Water against Whitesboro. This was a game that was pretty competitive. It was 21-18 going into the fourth quarter, but Whitesboro scoring 29 points in the fourth quarter to make this a 50-25 final for Whitesboro. And we've talked about Whitesboro. I talked to you 3 weeks ago saying I would not be surprised if we had a Whitesboro Jim Ned regional final. I thought Whitesboro was playing their best football at the right time, and very similar to what Brock does, Whitesboro extends the field with big plays. Matt Harper went 16 for 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. Their rushing attack, you had Asher Contreras, 12 for 57 and 2 touchdowns. Mac Harper running the ball, also 2 touchdowns, 18 for 41. Clay Hermes in some cleanup action, 3 for 24 and a touchdown. Receiving, all the big names, Trevor Nagelstad, just with big yardage. You had Jacob Hermes Hermes for 2 for 50 and a touchdown, and Jacob Smith. I think I said Trevor Torin Nagelstad. It's one of those things where you say something and it takes a minute to process. You probably heard me have a little fumble like that isn't right, and it sure wasn't right. And what I really like about sorry, Torin. You can at me or have Coach Fagan at me at Professor Diggs and tell me that you do not appreciate. You cannot isolate that audio when I screw up your name like that. People deserve to have their name said right. This is a great time for all of Whitesboro. This is just a fantastic team. You deserve to have your name said right. Uh, Fantastic fourth quarter and finish for Whitesboro. So when I think about Whitesboro and I think about Brock, you think about that game, how that game went the first time the uh, in the district play. And yes, Paradise played Brock a little closer than that, but it was 21-21 Whitesboro against Brock at halftime, but Brock, with a perfect second half, took it out. But now Whitesboro is playing offensively with that big play offense at a very high level. For me, when I look at this game of how can Whitesboro win this game, it's got to be a shootout. They're going to have to win one of those 46-39 sort of games, 42-35. And the question is, can Whitesboro do that? Can they play a perfect offensive game and at the same time force one or two turnovers? I think they always say that you're going to have 10 plays in a game that really dictate the focus of the game and the outcome of the game. Whitesboro's going to have to win 7 of those 10. Whitesboro is an underdog, but they are an underdog with the potential to beat Brock. But they are going to have to win the turnover battle. They're going to have a special teams play. If this is a situation where Brock wins the turnover battle, and turnovers against Jim Ned weren't really that much of a factor, but 2-1, and it just kind of demoralized Jim Ned. Once Brock got out early on them, Jim Ned started pressing, and Brock just throttled them. So what Whitesboro is going to have to do is that they're going to have to play perfect, especially early. Brock is going to come out. They're going to hit Whitesboro in the face. Can Whitesboro respond, or will Whitesboro go in the fetal position? I know a lot of people in Brock who I've talked to believe that Brock is playing at a high peak right now and should be favorited over Whitesboro by 5 or 6 touchdowns. If you look at the computer polls, Brock is the number 1 team in the state at this point, and they are favorited in this game by 3 scores. I think this is going to be a 1 or 2 score game. I think Whitesboro will play that perfect football game, but I don't think that they will win the turnover battles. I think it'll end up being a neutral kind of a thing where both teams play a clean game. And if that happens, Brock is the favorite, and that's all you can say about that. Whitesboro is going to have those breaks go their way. Whitesboro is going to have to get Brock into a personal foul situation, get him behind the chains, get a couple of punts where Brock makes some mistakes. And Brock isn't making any mistakes right now. Brock is playing high-level football at their peak. And that is something that I know multiple people on the internet said that Brock would be down this year. I was part of that group. I'm not going to throw people under the bus and say, oh, I was on the Brock bandwagon while everybody else was criticizing them. Anytime you have a coaching change, when you have a legend being replaced by a good coach but somebody who hasn't won the big game, you naturally are going to have questions. But I think that's motivated this team in many ways, that they want to take that chip on their shoulder and formulate it into something better. And with Brock and Whitesboro District 4 3A rematch, I think Brock should win this game, and I plan on attending it. Hopefully, if all goes well, I might be able to go down and talk to some of the coaches after the game, maybe get some audio for next week's District 4 3A report, because we are guaranteed a team in District 4 3A to make it to the state semifinals. And as part of the District 4 3A report, last Friday I went and checked out West versus Malakoff. It was a 14-12 game by West. And in my opinion, having seen West, I have not seen Mount Vernon, and having seen Whitesboro within the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think Whitesboro is better than West. So I think whoever wins this game between Brock and Whitesboro should win the state semifinals pretty easily. Lorena is playing fantastic football. I think Lorena is going to be a three-score favorite in whoever they play in Region 4. I think Lago Vista is playing its best football right now. I had Lago Vista over Edna last week. I think Lago Vista will beat Vanderbilt Industrial this week, and I think Lorena will beat them. And I think we're going to see a Lorena as part of one state semifinal, and then whoever wins Brock and Whitesboro in the other. Brock would be the slight favorite. I think Brock and Lorena, that's a one-score game as well. I think right now Whitesboro is the second or third best team in the state. I don't know how Whitesboro would have done against Jim Ned, but I would be shocked if Whitesboro lost this game by 45 or more. And I know comparing point spreads can be a fool's errand at times, but I think Whitesboro is going to play Brock very, very well because they've already proven they can score on Brock. It's just going to be the question of can they slow Brock down? Can they win the turnover battle? Because Brock did win the turnover battle against them. So West against Mount Vernon. Have not seen Mount Vernon this year, but I would have to install Mount Vernon as the favorite. I think they have a very good offense, and I think their offense against West defense will be obviously the important battle in that game. West had a very good defense, and West was basically dominated for a majority of that game against Malakoff. They hit two big plays, and that was the finality of that game, was West hitting two big plays, having an interception and then getting their first down in the second quarter, and then having a big screen pass go for a score in the second half, and stopping the 2-point conversion of Malakoff late in the game to keep that game from going to overtime. So I think Mount Vernon will be the favorite, but I think unless Mount Vernon does something like beat West by 4 or 5 scores and completely put themselves on the radar, I think Whitesboro would have to be considered a favorite over either team, as would Brock in that state semifinal. So next week when we know who those state semifinalists are exactly, we can do some more comparisons and we can break that down and maybe even take a look at the second half of the bracket with Lorena, Diboll, Vanderbilt, Industrial, and Lago Vista. Whoever wins those games, again, I'm predicting Lorena and Lago Vista, and kind of perhaps project to the state final as well. And who knows, if Brock or Whitesboro win 2 more, the District 4 3A report will have gone to the end. We can do no more. And given that we're going to have a change in realignment, who knows what will happen next year, what kind of reformulated District 4 3A report, but it'll be great to see a District 4 3A report bring home the state championship. So thank you for tuning in. From all of our friends in Pilot Point, from all of our friends in District 4 3A, and throughout the internet, my name is Matt Diggs. I am the professor at Professor Diggs on Twitter. And if you can't be good out there, be careful.